Hello student, today's lecture is about aminoglycoside antibiotics. In today's lecture, we will learn about aminoglycoside antibiotics, their distinctive features and how they are classified. What is the mechanism of action of aminoglycoside group of the drugs, and what are the different pharmacokinetic properties of aminoglycosides. We will also learn about some individual aminoglycoside drugs and what are the clinical uses of these drugs. What are the different adverse reactions that can occur with use of aminoglycoside group of drugs. What are the different precautions and contraindications are needed by use of aminoglycoside drugs. Aminoglycoside group of drugs are polybasic amino groups linked glycosidically to two or more amino sugars, hence the name is given aminoglycosides. Aminoglycoside group of drug includes natural and semi-synthetic drugs. Natural aminoglycosides are obtained from various soil actinomycetes like Streptomyces and Micromonospora. One of the distinctive features about spectrum of aminoglycoside compared to other antimicrobial agents is they are effective against gram-negative bacilli only. Streptomycin was first member in aminoglycoside group discovered by Waxman and colleagues in 1944. Streptomycin was given most importance due to its activity against Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Aminoglycoside classified based on their route of administration into two groups, systemic and topical. Systemic aminoglycosides includes streptomycin, kanamycin, tobramycin, paromomycin, amikacin, gentamicin, cyclomycin and natimycin, while topical aminoglycoside includes neomycin and famotidine. Here you can see two suffixes are used in naming of aminoglycoside drugs, mycin and mycin, which also has importance. Mycin suffix means aminoglycoside is obtained from Streptomyces, while mycin suffix means aminoglycoside is obtained from Micromonospora. We have learned that aminoglycosides are natural and semi-synthetic derivatives. So here, amikacin is a derivative of kanamycin and natimycin is a derivative of cyclomycin. So amikacin and natamycin are semisynthetic derivatives, while rest are naturally obtained aminoglycosides. Aminoglycoside drug exhibits certain common properties like pharmacokinetic, dosage regimens, adverse reaction profile. Aminoglycosides are used as sulfate salts which are highly water soluble. They remain ionized in a solution. They are not absorbed orally. They remain distributed only extracellularly. They do not penetrate inside brain or through CSF. All aminoglycosides are excreted unchanged in urine by glomerular filtration. Aminoglycosides are bactericidal in nature and they are more active at alkaline pH. Aminoglycosides act by interfering with the bacterial protein synthesis. However, there is some partial cross resistance noted between the aminoglycosides, like between gentamicin and tobramycin. Aminoglycosides are primarily active against aerobic gram-negative bacilli. They do not affect or inhibit anaerobes. Aminoglycoside class of drugs have relatively narrow margin of safety, and all aminoglycoside exhibits ototoxicity and nephrotoxicity. Aminoglycoside mechanism of action is a two-step process. First, aminoglycoside get transported through bacterial cell wall and cytoplasmic membrane and enters to the bacterium cytoplasm. Once inside the bacterial cytoplasm, aminoglycoside binds to the ribosomes, results in inhibition of protein synthesis. So in one sentence, aminoglycoside mechanism of action is inhibition of protein synthesis. Now let's understand in detail about their mechanism of action. So in first step, here you can see a typical structure of a gram-negative bacteria. So here, aminoglycoside drug enters inside the gram-negative bacteria through specific porin channel and reaches to the periplasmic space. Now from periplasmic space to cytoplasm, this particular process requires a carrier-mediated transport and it is an oxygen-dependent active process. So from periplasmic space to cytoplasm of bacteria, aminoglycoside is carried inside cytoplasm. Now this particular process explains why aminoglycosides are not effective against anaerobes and in big abscesses where oxygen concentration is low, because here oxygen dependent process gets interfered regarding transport of aminoglycoside. Similarly, inhibitors of the bacterial cell wall like beta-lactams and vancomycin enhances the entry of aminoglycoside and shows synergistic action with aminoglycosides. Now let's let's understand how aminoglycoside affects the protein synthesis inside bacteria. So once inside the bacterial cell, aminoglycoside binds with ribosomal units, particularly in case of streptomycin. It binds with the 30S ribosomal units, while the other aminoglycosides have additional binding sites with 50S, 30S, 50S interface also. Now because of bindings with this particular ribosomal unit, they freezes the initiation of the protein synthesis inside the bacteria and prevents the polysome formations and promotes their disaggregation into the monosomes. Binding of aminoglycoside to 30S 50S juncture causes distortion of mRNA codon recognition, results in misreading of codon, which leads to one or more wrong amino acids are entered inside the peptide chain and or peptides of abnormal lengths are produced. So this is how the aminoglycoside affects the protein synthesis inside bacteria. So considering that protein synthesis is inhibition action, the aminoglycosides are bactericidal drugs because after exposure of aminoglycoside, sensitive bacteria becomes more permeable to the ions, amino acids and even proteins leak out from bacteria, which leads to the cell death. Now this is because of incorporation of defective proteins inside the cell membrane. Aminoglycoside also exhibits concentration dependent killing, which means the rate of bacterial cell killing is directly related to the ratio of peak antibiotic concentration to MIC value. Aminoglycoside also exhibits long and concentration dependent post antibiotic effect. Therefore, despite a shorter T-half, around 2 to 4 hours, a single injection of total daily dose of aminoglycoside may be more effective than conventional 2 to 3 doses. Bacteria have also developed resistance against this aminoglycoside class of the drug. Mainly 3 types of resistance mechanism is seen. Bacteria produces various kind of inactivating enzyme like transferase, acylating or phosphorylating enzymes via mechanisms like plasmid mediated or via conjugation, which leads to the inactivation of aminoglycoside molecule. This is one of the most important mechanism. Cross resistance also noted between various aminoglycoside like between gentamicin and tobramycin or natamycin, but not seen in between gentamicin and streptomycin. Mutation of the pooling channels or oxygen dependent transport process get disrupted, which leads to the impaired entry of the aminoglycoside inside the cytoplasm of the bacteria. For example, in case of the Pseudomonas resistance, this kind of resistance is noted. The binding site for aminoglycoside, that is 30S or 50S ribosomal unit, gets altered because of the mutation. So the altered binding protein leads to the resistance for aminoglycoside. This mechanism can cause the higher degree of resistance. For example, in case of E. coli, develops resistance to the streptomycin by a single step mutation. So aminoglycoside class of the drugs having a narrow spectrum of action, they primarily affects gram-negative aerobic bacilli, which includes like Proteus, Pseudomonas, E. coli, Enterobacter, Klebsiella, Brucella and Shigella. However, some of the aminoglycosides also affects gram-positive cocci like Staph aureus and Streptoviridans. Some of the aminoglycosides have also action against mycobacterial tuberculosis, particularly streptomycin and kanamycin, but not the other aminoglycosides have action against mycobacterium tuberculosis. While this particular class of drug is not effective against gram-positive bacilli, gram-negative cocci and anaerobes. Aminoglycoside group of drugs have certain common pharmacokinetic properties. Some of the properties we have already learned, like they are highly ionized, they are not absorbed or destroyed by the GIT. After intramuscular administration, rapid absorption occurs within 30 to 40 minutes. There remains extracellular only, so having only 20-30% distribution inside the body. But higher concentration achieved in specific body tissue, particularly in endoleaf and renal cortex. They do not cross the blood-brain barrier, but they can cross the placenta and can affect the fetus. They are not metabolized inside the body. They are excreted unchanged in urine via glomerular filtration. The plasma T-half of aminoglycoside is around 2 to 4 hours. So here the renal clearance is equal to the creatinine clearance in case of aminoglycoside. So if the patient having a renal disease or in case of elderly patient, T-half of aminoglycoside may get prolonged and drugs may get accumulated inside the body, which leads to the toxicity. Aminoglycoside class of the drugs having a narrow margin of safety, and the toxicity developed by the aminoglycoside is shared among them. Those toxicities are mainly ototoxicity, nephrotoxicity, and neuromuscular blockade. Ototoxicity and nephrotoxicity are most important one here. However, this toxicity having a relative propensity difference among various aminoglycosides. Ototoxicity is the most important one, which is a dose and duration related toxicity. Ototoxicity chances are higher when the plasma concentration of aminoglycoside is persistently high and above a threshold value. For example, gentamicin, the threshold value is to be around 2 microgram per ml. Above this value, vestibular damage becomes the concentration dependent. So, gentamicin plasma concentration is capped less than 1 microgram per ml to avoid particular toxicity. Particular aminoglycoside can affect vestibular or cochlear part with different propensity. In cochlear damage, usually the symptoms start with the hearing loss. The loss with the higher frequencies first noted, and then it leads to the loss to the lower frequencies. The regeneration of the sensory cells occurs, but in a retrograde manner. However, the frequency loss still persists even after the drug is stopped. Tinnitus also appears, but when the drug is stopped, it usually disappears within 5 to 10 days. Older patients and those having a pre-existing hearing defect, they are more susceptible for cochlear damage. Ototoxicity is more with the neomycin, amikacin and kanamycin. In vestibular damage, the patient shows symptoms like headache, nausea, vertigo, ataxia, loss of balance. When the drug is stopped, the patient becomes asymptomatic in bed, but symptoms appears only during walking. Patient shows recovery within 1 to 2 years, but usually it is incomplete. There is a more chances of vestibular damage with streptomycin and gentamicin. Tobramycin has both type of toxicity, cochlear as well as vestibular, while natamycin claimed to have a low chances of ototoxicity. There are more chances of nephrotoxicity in the elderly and those with the pre-existing renal disease. Nephrotoxicity manifests as tubular damage, which results in nitrogen retention, reduction in glomerular filtration, increase in the serum creatinine, albuminuria. Nephrotoxicity is reversible if the drug is promptly discontinued. However, because of the reduction in the clearance of the aminoglycoside antibiotic from kidney, and it is the only way for excretion of aminoglycoside, it leads to the increased chance of ototoxicity. Streptomycin and tobramycin has less nephrotoxic potential. Aminoglycoside can cause neuromuscular junction blockade by various mechanisms like interfering with the vesicles fusion by antagonizing calcium ions, decreasing the sensitivity of the muscle and plates to the acetylcholine, inhibiting the acetylcholine release from the motor nerve. The effect of this action is not manifested ordinarily in the clinical use of these drugs, and it can be partially antagonized by the use of calcium salts. Neomycin and streptomycin having a more propensity to cause neuromuscular blockade, tobramycin least likely to produce this effect. Also, the myasthenic weakness is increased by these class of drug. Considering their narrow margin of safety and toxicities, these are the following precautions and contraindication recommended for use of aminoglycoside. During pregnancy, if they are given, they can cause fetal ototoxicity, hence they are contraindicated during pregnancy. When they are used along with the other ototoxic drugs like furosemide and minocycline, they increases the ototoxicity. Similarly, when they are used along with the nephrotoxic drugs like NSAIDs, vancomycin, cisplatin, they increases the chance of nephrotoxicity. Aminoglycoside should be used cautiously in a particularly elderly patient and those patients with pre-existing kidney disease to avoid particularly nephrotoxicity and ototoxicity. Aminoglycoside should be cautiously used along with the muscle relaxants to avoid the neuromuscular blockade. They should not be mixed with any other drug in same series to avoid the drug interaction. Due to their toxicity profile, dosing calculation is recommended for aminoglycoside. Dose of aminoglycoside is calculated according to the body weight and the renal function level. For example, in case of gentamicin, tobramycin, cyclomycin, the dose is around 3 to 5 mg per kg per day. And for streptomycin, kanamycin, amikacin, the recommended dose is around 7.5 to 50 mg kg per day. However, a single daily total dose is recommended if the patient having a normal renal function, because aminoglycoside having a concentration dependent bactericidal action and long post antibiotic effect. Patient having a normal renal function, that indicates there is a lesser chances of nephrotoxicity, and a single daily dose is also convenient to the patient and it is also cheaper. So if the patient having a renal insufficiency, so there are dose adjustment is needed for aminoglycoside. So here you can see in figure, dose adjustment for gentamicin is recommended for renal insufficiency. Say for example, patient having a 30 ml per minute clearance value. So the gentamicin dose is given as 30% of daily dose. Similarly, if the patient having a clearance value less than 10, a 40% of the gentamicin dose is given on alternate day basis. Now let's learn about few aminoglycoside in details. The first one is the streptomycin. Streptomycin is naturally obtained aminoglycoside from Streptomyces, having a narrow spectrum, mainly against aerobic gram-negative bacilli like H2K, Brucella, C. granulomatis and Mycobacterium tuberculosis. However, Pseudomonas remains unaffected. Resistance is also against streptomycin develops very rapidly because of the one-step mutation on the biplasmic. In adverse effect profile, most commonly noted adverse reactions are pain at injection site and vestibular disturbances in case of ototoxicity. It has the lowest chances of nephrotoxicity. Other areas are seen like paresthesias and scotoma, but occasionally. It also causes rarely hypersensitive reactions and very rarely anaphylactic reactions. Streptomycin is used as a first-line drug along with the other first-line antituberculous agent for treatment of tuberculosis. It is also used for the treatment of subacute bacterial endocarditis, but not as a single agent along with the other agents like penicillin, ampicillin or vancomycin for a period of 4 to 6 weeks. It is also used in the treatment of plague and brucellosis. A 7 to 10 days treatment is required, but tetracycline is preferred for the mass prophylaxis. Streptomycin is a drug of choice for the rare condition like telluremia. It was used earlier, but because of the emergence of resistance and low potency compared to the gentamicin, the newer aminoglycosides are nowadays preferred. Kanamycin aminoglycoside having a similar profile in the terms of pharmacokinetic dosing, but it is more nephrotoxic and ototoxic drug compared to the streptomycin. It is occasionally used as a second-line drug in drug-resistant tuberculosis. Gentamicin has a higher potency and broader spectrum of activity than streptomycin. It shows synergistic action along with the beta-lactams. So in its spectrum, it mainly covers a gram-negative, but it also covers a gram-positive bacteria like Staph aureus, Streptococcus and Listeria. But however, it is ineffective against Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Currently, gentamicin is most commonly used aminoglycoside for acute infection, and usually it is used in a combination regimen to treat serious infection by extending the spectrum of coverage. So it is used for the treatment and prevention of respiratory infection, particularly caused by the gram-negative bacteria. So in critically ill patients, patients with impaired host defense, patients in resuscitation wards, patients with tracheostomy on respirators, in patients with post-operative pneumonias, patients with implants, and patients in ICU. So usually here the gentamicin is combined with the penicillin or cephalosporin or another antibiotic to expand the spectrum of coverage. In Pseudomonas, Proteus and Klebsiella infection treatment, like in patients of burns, ureter infection, pneumonia, lung abscesses, osteomyelitis, blood infection, septicemia. So here similarly gentamicin is combined along with the piperacillin or thiazoxycephalosporin for such a serious infections. Gentamicin is available as a parenteral, ophthalmic and topical formulations which serves as advantage. So it is also used topically for infected burns and also in conjunctivitis. It is also used in treatment of meningitis, but it was by gram-negative bacilli. So it is used as a single agent or could be combined with the third generation cephalosporin. Similarly, like streptomycin, it is also used in treatment of subacute bacterial endocarditis in combination with penicillin, ampicillin or vancomycin. Amikacin is a semi-synthetic derivative of kanamycin with similarity in pharmacokinetics, doses and toxicity. However, it has a unique feature among the aminoglycoside. Amikacin is resistant to the bacterial inactivating enzyme. Thus, it has a wider spectrum of activity, including the many organisms which are having a resistance to the other aminoglycosides. However, it is recommended as a reserve drug for empirical treatment of hospital-acquired gram-negative bacillary infections, where there is a higher chance of resistance against gentamicin or tobramycin. It is also used for the treatment of tuberculosis, but only in case of multi-drug resistant tuberculosis. In adverse effect profile, there are more chances of hearing loss rather than a vestibular disturbances. Neomycin has a wider spectrum of activity against most of gram-negative bacilli and also some gram-positive cocci. But Pseudomonas and Streptopathogens are not sensitive. When neomycin is given systemically, it is highly toxic to the internal ear and kidney. But when it is given as an oral or topical formulation, there is no higher chances of such a systemic toxicities. So it is usually used as a topical formulation along with the other agents like bacitracin and polymyxin for infected wound, ulcers, burns, external infections and in conjunctivitis. However, being a topical anti-infective preparations, its benefits are limited. Orally, it is used for the purpose of preparation of bowel before surgery. Here it is used along with the metronidazole to reduce the post-operative infections. It is also used in the treatment of hepatic coma. Neomycin, by suppressing the intestinal flora, it reduces the ammonia production in the gut and lowers the level of ammonia level inside blood in severe hepatic failure. But because of its toxic potential, it is infrequently used for this purpose. Rather than lactulose is preferred for such condition. In adverse effect profile, topically most commonly rashes are seen. When it is used orally, it can lead to the superinfection. By damaging the intestinal villi, it can lead to the malabsorption syndrome with diarrhea and steatorrhea, and also causes the nephrotoxicity and ototoxicity. If renal function is declined, neomycin is contraindicated. Another aminoglycoside, trimycetine, having a similar profile like neomycin. It is highly toxic for systemic administration. So it is used topically in skin and eye and ear infections, same like neomycin. So here you can see some other aminoglycoside and their different properties and uses. Tobramycin aminoglycoside having a similarity in the terms of antibacterial, pharmacokinetic and dosage profile like gentamicin. However, the ototoxicity and nephrotoxicity is lesser than gentamicin, but it is more active against particularly Pseudomonas and Proteus, also against some resistant to the gentamicin. So it is used as an alternative agent to the gentamicin, particularly the serious infection caused by Pseudomonas and Proteus. Cyclomycin having a similar to the gentamicin, but it is more potent to the action on Pseudomonas and beta hemologous streptococci. However, it is similar susceptibility to the aminoglycoside inactivating enzymes, and there is no such advantage in terms of ototoxicity and nephrotoxicity. However, it can be used as interchangeably with the gentamicin. Paromycin having a similarity like neomycin, but it has a unique feature that has a more activity against the protozoa like E. stereotica, Giardia lamblia, Trichomonas vaginalis, Cryptosporidium and Leishmania. Similar as neomycin, it is not absent from the GIT. It can be used as an alternative agent to the neomycin for hepatic encephalopathy. However, it is available as a parenteral formulation for the and recommended parenterally. It can be useful for the treatment of visceral leishmaniasis. Natamycin is a semisynthetic derivative of cyclomycin, having a similar profile like gentamicin, but it has a broader spectrum compared to the gentamicin. It is also resistant to the inactivating enzyme, so it is having a more activity against the Klebsiella, Enterobacter and Staphylococci, but lesser activity against the Pseudomonas. So it can be used for treatment of serious infection because of the susceptible Enterobacteria and the other aerobic gram-negative bacilli. So today we have learned about the aminoglycoside class of the drug, which having a specific spectrum against the gram-negative bacilli. Aminoglycoside drug acts by affecting the protein synthesis by binding with the ribosome unit. Aminoglycosides molecule have common pharmacodynamic properties. Their toxic features are also common and shared among the aminoglycosides. In the terms of toxicities of aminoglycoside, the nephrotoxicity and ototoxicity are the most important one. Aminoglycoside usually are given as intramuscular injections. Some of the aminoglycoside like gentamicin, neomycin, they are also available as a topical preparation. Aminoglycosides are usually indicated for the treatment of gram-negative infection, particularly in critically ill patients and in patients of burns and the others. And aminoglycosides like streptomycin, kanamycin, they are also used in the treatment of tuberculosis. Aminoglycosides requires a cautiously use, particularly in a patient having a renal disease and in elderly patient. So this is your today's assignment. So question 1, mention common properties shared among aminoglycoside. Question 2, explain mechanism action of aminoglycosides. Question 3, write in brief about amikacin. Question 4, Write short note on adverse effects of aminoglycoside. These are my references. Thank you.